My name's Ellie Zimmerman. I had my entire house remodeled, a 12-foot addition on the entire back side, and it was down to the studs.
Right on. Was this your first remodeling project?
I had done an addition on my old house, but that was 8 years ago, and it was a much smaller scale.
Gotcha. Okay. How did you come across NSS Home?
From my designer, I was having quite a hard time, and she introduced me to NSS Home.
Right on. What was your relationship with the designer like prior to the construction, and how do you feel like that helped the construction experience?
I feel like she was like my only real source of like stability in the project, because she was the one that helped me with the original plans. And then I took those plans and an architect signed off on those plans essentially. So it was huge. She helped me lay out what I wanted. So I had like the blueprint of exactly what I wanted everything to look like. So that was like the biggest help throughout.
It sounds like working with the designer, she was almost like your advocate throughout the project.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Okay. What was it that made you want to remodel this home? And tell us a little bit about like the backstory of the home.
So this is my kids' like family home. Their grandma grew up here and their dad grew up here. So it's been in their family for 50 years. It's 100 plus years old. So I really wanted to keep the character, but update it for modern times. And also the house had a really small kitchen. There was no space for a master. So I figured if I'm gonna do it, I wanna like push it out and make it my dream home.
And you did that.
Well, yeah.
Okay. The design process can be tricky. Did you kind of already know what you wanted, or do you feel like Chrissy maybe helped you guide you along to what you kind of,
Chrissy probably helped me quite a bit. Initially, when I bought it, I was going back and forth with like, can I make do with the existing structure? And then the more I thought about it, like if this is gonna be a long-term place for me and the kids, I knew that there were things that I needed. Like we each needed our own bedroom. I needed a master bedroom. So then the idea of an addition came to be with that. And then I had the basic outline of what I wanted to do, but she really like obviously put it into a 3D version where I could actually visualize and gave me some insight and helped me with the layout and everything. So yeah, it was like hugely tremendous. I had the idea and she brought it to life.
Do you feel like having a design helped you kind of hold people accountable? Because you did experience some issues with construction, right? Do you feel like you had something kind of like to have your back, even though Chrissy was your advocate?
Yeah, for sure. I think having like with my last remodel anyways, I had the, overall plans like for the city, but it didn't show the design. It didn't show like the 3D renderings. So those renderings, so people could actually see what it was supposed to look like in the end, helped tremendously. And then her alone, like when somebody would have a question, I could call her or she would come here and help me, be the middleman.
Impressions, meeting the team, our employees, and kind of your overall experience working with NSS Home.
I mean, it was amazing. I think when they stepped in, I was pretty much like spent. I was completely exhausted and didn't really know where to turn at that point. So meeting the team, meeting Kyle, like it was huge and helped me, like gave me the encouragement to keep going and the drive to keep going. And I felt like, oh, finally maybe everything will be okay.
Right on. Okay. How would you describe the remodeling process once it got to like, the structure was done, that kind of, was it smooth? Was it streamlined?
Once NSS Home stepped in, it was smooth. It was streamlined. Prior to that, can't say the same. But once they stepped in, it was like we had a full plan and I didn't have to worry whether people were going to show up and do their job or not.
Did any unexpected challenges come up? And how did the team handle these issues?
Talk about once you were here.
We can talk about before. Let's get into before.
Okay.
All right.
So before I had help, I decided I was going to do this all by myself because I did my last one essentially by myself. Much smaller scale. Things were a lot cheaper back then too. So I mean, from the get-go, we had like problems. I had problems with the architect, and then I had problems with the engineer. So the plans themselves with the city to be fully approved took like a year. That wouldn't have happened if I had a professional helping me. And then the framer, that's when that was the first big issue. Like the framer just ghosted. He had the main structure built, but then everything else inside, the addition, the existing home that we needed to repair, gone. So I had no one to help me with the framing. And then it's just everything stalled because obviously that's got to get done. And then that's when NSS HOME stepped in and got their framer in here who was amazing. I think he got everything done in like 5 days. So it was pretty incredible. But there were still issues, I feel like, that popped up. This is an old house. So like the basement, there was actually somebody broke in and popped a valve or something and the whole house flooded the day that we were supposed to get drywall home. So then a team member of NSS Homes was here and helped me like clear out the space. We rented a bunch of stuff so I didn't have to like hire a company to come do all that since I was way over budget at that point. But those two, the framing and the flood, were like the big hurdles that we had to jump through.
Do you feel like you would have saved money and headache if you had just maybe tried? And what is your advice to other people who want to maybe thinking about GCing their own project?
Don't do it. I mean, unless you know personally a bunch of subs, like they're your best friends. Well, even then, I don't know, because that could be a little tricky too. Don't do it because, yeah, I mean, I think if it had the timeline had gone as planned, I probably would have saved money. But that was the problem. Like the time cost me $100,000 because nobody listened to me. I didn't know any subs. So I was kind of on the back burner of all the subs, like, you know. So don't do it. Save yourself time. Time is money.
Price is always a concern. Did it feel like maybe the experience and the quality of work, like you got the value for what you paid?
100%. And so because I was over budget already, NSS Homes came in, they advocated for me with the subs, and it actually saved me money. Everything, I think, from the beginning, I mean, really, because it was such a shit show when they stepped in. So, like, they were always on time. They came when they said. The project moved along. Like, that saved me the time. Just staying on schedule alone was, like, impressive.
What would you say to anyone who's thinking about remodeling a home in the North End here in Tacoma? What would you recommend NSS Home to them?
Yeah, actually last night I just recommended them to one of my kids' friends' families because I know I've heard horror stories about contractors. Like I'm in mortgage, and so I work with a lot of real estate agents. I'm in the industry. I hear how contractors will like just dip out, and I would 100% vouch that NSS Home will get the job done.
Awesome. Talk to me about, let's revisit other contractors and your experience working with them, and you know, on a smaller scale as opposed to this.
What do you mean?
Like your experience working with other contractors, how it was?
Contractor or subcontractors?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing.
Oh, okay. Well, years ago, I feel like I had a great experience with some of the subcontractors. This project, horrible. I mean, I had somebody literally leave in the middle of the project and never return a phone call. That actually happened, I forgot, with HVAC too. My HVAC guy ghosted me, didn't finish it. So overall, I would say I had like a really, really bad experience in the beginning when I was trying to run the project. So my experience the last time was amazing, and I guess I had that expectation going into this. And I think what I figured out is me running my own project, I didn't have the level of like respect that a GC running a project probably has, and the relationships built. And so I feel like I got taken advantage of. People left without communicating. So it did leave me like really down, and I didn't know how I was going to complete the project because I didn't trust anybody. And then I didn't want to hand my money over. I didn't want to even give a deposit because I didn't trust the person to complete the job. So I feel like once NSS Homes came in, I fully was like, okay, maybe not right away, but after a few steps, after the framer came in and finished within a few days, I was like, okay, I trust them. I think this is going to go. And I now will always trust that they'll get the job done. Maybe it'll be more expensive than my initial budget if I run it myself, but then I don't risk people walking out on me and losing money that way. I love the house. I have PTSD from the overall project. That first 2 years, from buying to completion, it was like almost 3 years. And so trying to run it myself ruined my experience, I feel like. I love the house. I look at it and I think of like some trauma that went down, but I love it. And if it weren't for NSS Homes, I don't even know that it would have got complete. So having this house complete, which was really a dream for quite a long time, I feel like there's a space for everything. That was the whole point in doing this massive remodel and addition, was like, I just feel organized. Everything has a home. And I wanted a gathering place for like parties. I am the hosting house now. I can have every birthday party, every holiday. Like, it's really just been an overall fun experience for me and my whole family and my friends. Yeah, so when I went into this project, again, I thought it was going to be maybe a year to completion. It wasn't. I'm a single mom of 3 kids, and so that added like a level of stress. Like, our entire lives were uprooted. It wasn't just my life. So it was super stressful, and trying to run the project too, I felt like being a single mom, being a woman, a lot of subcontractors, contractors, they looked at me like, and they thought that they could take advantage of me.
You had pets and children in the home, right? How did you feel like the team handled that? Did you feel comfortable? Did you feel like there was your stuff was taken into consideration and your family dynamic was taken into consideration during the remodel? Yeah,
for sure. I have 3 kids and they're crazy. And my dog is also loud and obnoxious. So people were just like gracious. When they were building the deck, they were like helpful. My son was out there like helping and hanging out. So it was like a fun experience. And I feel like, especially like towards the end, spending so much time with certain subcontractors, like they became my friends. So it was fun. I would say you gotta call Kyle with NSS Homes. He saved me literally from probably losing the house, not completing the house. And everything he said that was gonna happen, happened. The timeline was pretty much spot on. Even when I hated the timeline, even when I told him do it a little bit faster, like, it was just realistic expectations that were always met throughout the process. So at the end of the project, I think you guys have come to a couple of parties, but at the end of the project, actually, it wasn't really the end. It was what I needed to be the end. So we tried to make do, and then I invited the crew to the birthday party for my daughter. But then when it was like really complete, I threw a big party, and then I invited everybody in at NSS Homes.